All right. Okay, looks like we are now live. I am joined with Xena the Witch, who is drying herself off right now because she just got out of the shower. And we're going to debate the ethical principles of veganism. So we first interacted with one another on the Kick or Keep stream. Um, Aside from me, she was the smartest person on that stream, and I think I had the best, most reasonable conversation with her, so I invited her on to have another debate without anybody interrupting us.
Hello.
Hey. All right. So, yeah, let's get things started. I think you're already familiar with my position, but in case you forgot, I believe animal rights are a logical extension of human rights, and I believe we need to be logically consistent, and I don't see any logically consistent basis for which we can grant human beings rights without taking away human rights to also take away animal rights. So we
Mhm.
have to grant human rights to animals. If we don't, we have to take away human rights. So if you don't believe that to be the case, then I think you need to name some unique traits that animals are lacking. But in order to be logically consistent, you have to also demonstrate that that wouldn't also result in the removal of human rights.
Okay, well, I forgot that I probably should have looked up some things, right? Instead of just coming in here. Um, okay, one thing I would say about the animal rights, not that animals shouldn't have rights to like mass. I don't believe in the farm producing. Like not farm, the natural farms versus factory, like factory producing like that type of meat factories.
Sure.
That I do think is like fucking ridiculous and cruel because I mean those animals aren't getting any amount of love. Their only purpose is to be food. That type of thing I don't like. I know even on farms like you raise your animals, it and it sucks to have to kill them to eat them, but at least they live a life where they're being, they're loved, they're taken care of, they have names, they're getting petted, like, you know what I'm saying? Versus factories where as soon as I've seen it, I've witnessed like when the cow gives birth or whatever, her babies they don't even get to suckle her or anything. The babies are just taken, and then they also make veal. They shove them in the cages, and they live out in a cage the whole time to make veal and stuff like that. I think that is animal cruelty. So in that basis or in that example, like I agree. But as far as like I said, in more of maybe a Native American or traditional sense, if you owned your own farm and made your own like crops and bred your own cattle and stuff like that, I think yeah, it's fine to consume animal meat because I mean it is a natural thing. Animals consume animals, humans consume animals, and I know we had the argument about I think cannibalism between humans as well, where I don't. Now I'm not advocating for it, but like murder, but I don't know the correct basis behind it, but I know in Germany, for example, at a point, cannibalism was legal under certain stipulations, of course, like murder wasn't. But like, if people like me, for example, organ donors or whatever, like, if it were legal to eat human meat and people who died from an accident and they had like a check on their license that said you could eat human meat, I think that could be possible too if people wanted to do that. Like I said, I'm not advocating for it. I'm just not against it if we're consuming animal meat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, meat is meat.
Okay, so what I gathered from that is you think it's natural to raise animals for food. But again, you wouldn't be in favor of raising human beings for food. I understand you're against factory farming, but let's say we were raising humans, we were raising them up until, I don't know, the age of like 10, and we were treating them well, having them go to school, and then we like shot them in the head, chopped them up, and ate them. You'd be against that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what is the trait or set of traits lacking in animals that, if lacking in human beings, would justify that kind of treatment to human beings?
I would think like some traits would be like, now I might not be able to articulate myself well here, but like our ability to build societies and actually come up with these laws and have reasoning and have these conversations that, like I said before, our consciousness and stuff, being able to structure out things like that, building, providing. Animals provide in a sense. Obviously, they are essential. Like either they provide for us, whether it's their meat or even, I don't want to say skin or leather and fur, but that's something as well. And they provide for their young, but they're not necessarily like they're not building societies.
Sure. So, to me, that sounds like mentally disabled people would end up being turned into hamburgers because they can't build society. You could also make that
Well,
argument about children. You could say in the future they might be able to build a society, but
well,
you
was
could
it
affect the
Steven
outcome.
Spielberg disabled?
Sorry.
Wait, is it not Steven Spielberg? What's his name? Fuck. He's the scientist that's in the wheelchair. You know who I'm talking about?
Well, Stephen Hawking, but like he's incredibly
A
smart.
disabled. Yeah, but that's a disabled
Well,
human.
that's not
He,
mentally disabled. That's physically disabled.
I mean, I think there are still stuff behind there. Like you can be a little mentally impaired and work in construction.
Okay, well, there are people who are so mentally impaired they can't put sentences together. They can't do math. They can't use
Oh, well,
language.
okay, this is probably going to be a terrible, terrible take here, but if I'm being honest, like if you can't talk, walk, or live a basic human life, I think that's miserable. Like I think you'd be suffering. Like I know if
So,
I was vegetabilized, I would want to be put down. If I was vegetabilized, I'd want to be put down. That's a conversation I've had in my family. My
well,
mom's the
yeah,
same
I would feel the same way, but you're coming from a position where you are cognitively capable, and then you're through like I don't know,
way.
brain injury, you're becoming disabled. That's a
Yeah.
little different than being born that way. And I mean, I used to go to school with where there were like special needs kids in a different part of the building. Some of them were so mentally disabled they couldn't talk. So like they couldn't even understand words. You could tell they still wanted to live. Like it's not like they could show happiness and everything and they'd get excited when like a cartoon is on or something. So, I don't know how you figure like it's justifiable to take the life away from somebody who seems to be enjoying life, like not suffering.
I didn't say take their life away. I was saying like I don't know how that's arguable in the sense of like and how you were first explaining it to me. I thought you meant like almost vegetabilized, like that's almost dead.
Well,
And
they'd
really,
be roughly equivalent in intelligence to the animals you eat, like chicken, cow, pig.
mm, and they can't
Like,
talk
and pigs
either.
are fairly intelligent. I think they've been compared to like a 5-year-old child.
Yeah, pigs are
Cows are
smart. I
also
mean,
fairly
they're
intelligent too.
smart. Monkeys are clearly very smart.
Yeah.
I know cats are smart, but I mean, I don't condone eating cats. So,
Yeah, but I mean, like, a cat isn't really any smarter than a cow or a pig.
mm.
Like, those are animals you eat, correct?
I eat, yeah, probably cow.
Yeah, so, like, if you're not going to be comfortable with killing a human being that has roughly the same intelligence as a cow, and I mean, there's other animals you wouldn't eat, like a dog or a cat, you wouldn't want to see them treated that way, where they're raised really well, and then you kill them and eat them.
Hmm.
So, that seems like a contradiction to me.
I mean, I think it is in a sense because we still separate humans from animals as being we naturally come with this default of being the superior being and then having the pyramid, like the mammal pyramid. So the higher up will always think they have say over the lesser. And I think that's like just a natural default that we have set in us. And then even down to I'll even go not to be in religion, but even in religion, while it says not to eat the swine, it's only because of putting the sins within the swine. But there are meats to eat, like we're supposed to eat meat. Like it's just that's produced in religion, and in most cultures they have their sayings as to why we should eat certain types of meats and stay away from other meats, whatever, whatever. So it's a natural default for humans, in a sense, to think they have this right and say over animals to claim their life and take their meat for
Yeah,
consumption.
but I mean, if you're going to commit violence against another, like a group of people or against conscious creatures, you need some way to justify it. And I don't think you could make a claim like, well, it's natural for us to do this. I mean, we've been raping and murdering each other since humans have existed. Tribal warfare was extremely common in ancient societies. Like that, you could argue that's natural, but you wouldn't be in favor of us still continuing tribal warfare, murdering each other. So I need to have a logically consistent basis for which you would take away animal rights.
I think that then becomes like I said, a socially structured thing, or where, for example, back then it was okay doing all like in a sense, like it was normal. People were doing that, like the wars, the like you said, the tribal thing. That was almost normal, like I guess savagery until we became what we would describe as what civilized, right? Like indigenous tribes and stuff like that. I mean, it's known, like even in Native America, like you could people have consumed people, like other people
Yeah.
that are outside of their tribes. But the civilized people, which would be us, whatever, that have these social constructed views and sets, would come in and be like, well, that's when they have their standards and they pick and choose what is right and what is wrong, balancing it. Like I said, I don't condone eating cats, but we can agree cats and monkeys, cats and cows, like they're animals. They clearly know when they're being loved. They purr when they're getting pet, like they're intelligent creatures. Same as cows. Cows know if they don't like somebody, or if they do like somebody, they come up to you and let you pet them, or they'll freaking spit at you and stuff, like, you know? So you're picking and choosing then from there what you're okay with out of being in that mental I can't even articulate it right, but do you get what I'm saying or no?
Well, I'm not using societal norms as a basis to grant or take away rights.
Well,
Um,
that's what I'm saying is more than likely how that is why they are I mean, some of our rights as humans anyway aren't, I don't think they're even correct or should be the way that they are. But again, like going on the pyramid thing, people higher up think they have say and they get to pick and choose what is okay and what isn't okay, and what we have rights to and what we don't have rights to. And I think even then, as these higher up superior human beings, we think the same for animals and do that to the animals.
right. So you don't necessarily have to agree with all human rights, that are granted to you. You might have
Mhm.
issues with free speech laws, things like that. But from your own standpoint, you would agree you should have a right to life, right? Like nobody should be able to murder you.
Um, yeah, like I have a stance on that too. Like we did one time on Karakeek, I think we actually did a debate about like the right to like just kill somebody for pissing you off and stuff like that. I don't think like yeah, no.
Yeah, so if you would grant that
Have a
right to
right.
yourself, sorry?
Yeah, you shouldn't have a right to it, yeah.
Yeah, so if you would grant that right to yourself and other human beings, then what is the trait that is lacking in animals that would prevent you from granting that right to them?
Is it a right that we have? Or is it just a thing that we do? Like is it an actual right? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I would define a right as something that is codified into law that is protected by members of the society, including, say, either a ruling class or a government class, so like police.
Mm, okay, okay. Because I don't think it would, yeah, fall under a right as to why humans just fucking breed these factories and shit like that, as far as what they lack and why they probably can't get that right or is defense. I mean, they can't. be civilized in the sense of building weapons or whatever that can like we can't battle each other out. Like animals in the most senses are, I guess, lesser than us because we are superior because we're able to build these factories. We're able to get these weapons. We are able to tranquilize them. We're able to do these things in order to take them and, you know,
Well, I mean, we like as a society granted women rights, but they did not have an ability to actually be disruptive enough socially to
yeah, but
like
at
really
least
fight
with
for their
that,
rights.
women like what they did. I mean, even though I don't agree with like running out in the streets naked and doing all the riots and stuff, but something in that sense, I mean, we did women did do this. They did riot. They did rallies. They did protests. They
Yeah,
did all
but I
this
mean,
to
if men really had an interest in not granting women a right to vote, they wouldn't have a right to vote. I think what happened was these protests and riots got enough sympathy to where men had an interest in granting those rights to women. But like again, women would not have the ability to win a war against men. Neither would gay people. I mean, gay people recently got a right to get married. Like we grant rights to classes of people that don't have the power to, fight for their own rights. And when we look back in history, there are people who are holocausted or genocided, like the Jews. They didn't have the power to really fight for their own rights, but we could agree that rights should have been granted to them, same as like, other people in their culture. So I don't see how a lack of ability to fight for your own rights is really a justification to take them away from animals.
I don't think it's a justification. I think that, like I said about the superiority and the pyramid thing of who's elite and who's in charge of things, they make the decisions. Just like how you gave that example. I mean, which I agree is not fair. At the end of the day, I mean, we had what is it, road wave overturn and things like that. Other people are deciding what we do with our lives, our
Well, you
body.
decide what you eat,
Yeah,
so
but
that's not true.
I'm not killing the animals. What I was
Well,
saying.
you
So
are. You're just paying for it.
I'm co-signing on it, but I'm not physically killing an animal.
No,
But
you're
what
paying
I'm
for it.
saying
So if you were to hire a hitman, you're just as culpable for the murder.
is not when it's already dead.
Well, you're paying for it.
Like,
This is a
okay, I
supply
know it
and
sounds
demand
crazy. Yeah,
concept.
yeah, yeah. But I know that this will sound crazy, but say somebody murdered a fucking millionaire and robbed all their jewelry. Okay, they're already dead, and a week later get some of the jewelry because I paid for the jewelry. I didn't say to go murder that person. Is it right? No, but like I wouldn't say
Well,
that
that would
I
be
wouldn't take
theft
it as far
because
as to like say
probably
that I murdered
somebody
that
else
person.
from their state owns that.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying I wouldn't say that it's the same as actually murdering the animal.
So let me ask you this: if there was, say, a human meat factory, you'd be comfortable with buying human meat and supporting an
I was
industry that
interested.
systematically kills human beings because you're not doing it personally?
If I was interested in eating human meat, like I mentioned about like the Germany law before that was overturned, if I actually was interested in eating human meat and it didn't go against like my belief system, then I don't see a problem with it. Not again, I'm not condoning it. I'm not advocating for it. I've never eaten human meat and I have no desire
Well,
to.
what I'm
But
asking
same
specifically,
thing.
what
Yeah,
I'm
it would
asking,
probably be structured. It would probably be something that I grew up into thinking is okay. So therefore, it's kind of like, yeah,
yeah,
it's structured.
so what I'm asking specifically is that if there was a human meat trade that functioned the exact same way as the animal agriculture industry, would you think you're supporting murder by buying human meat, or would you not?
Hmm. By buying human meat, are we supporting murder? I mean, I suppose so, yeah. So I
Okay,
guess
so
we're
then,
supporting the factorial thing of slaughtering the animals. But at the end of the day, like I said about I like more so like the homegrown farm foods. Like I do like a more natural lesser
Yeah,
violence.
so if you're going to admit
Or just
that
against the
supporting
animals
so
in
if you're
general, which is okay.
so if you're going to admit that supporting a human meat trade is tantamount to murder, then how is it not tantamount to murder when you pay for animals to get killed and then you eat them?
Say that again.
You just said if you were to buy human meat, that would be tantamount to murder.
No, and
Then
I said the same for animals. I turned it around and I said, so I can get where your take is to agree on the same with the animals and like the factorial thing. And then the only thing I said is like, for example, like we said earlier, like I said earlier on, I don't really like or agree with the mass producing of factories and farming the animals like that and having them all in that fucking them cages and shit like that. Like that shit's disgusting. I do agree with that. And I like to go more towards a homegrown, home farm type of approach when eating meats. Obviously, yes, sometimes, like when I'm lazy, like if I'm sitting right now, I'll probably be like, fuck, I'm just gonna get McDonald's. Like you said, so the supply and demand, it's almost push. Do we have the conscious decision to choose? I'm not going to co sign off this. I'm not going to accept this type of whatever and completely stop eating meat. Yes, we could do that. At the same time, like, I don't want to say it, but once you get a taste of the poison, if you like the poison, you keep going back to it. I do actually enjoy the taste of meat. I do like to eat meat. I've had vegan food. Vegan food isn't bad at all. I have a friend, she's vegan. She makes me vegan food. It's really good. It's just I don't think that the meat that's they make the flavor to kind of taste similar to meat. It doesn't like to me. It tastes more earthly, like groundish, if that makes
okay,
sense. So I
well,
revert to eating meat.
two things to point out. You could just go to Burger King and get a Impossible Whopper. And secondly, I don't know how taste pleasure justifies murder.
Wait, what's an impossible whopper?
It's a Burger King Whopper, only it's made with Impossible meat. It's the vegan meat.
Oh, impossible meat is vegan. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Never, I've never even tried that yet.
Yeah, but I don't understand how taste pleasure justifies murder.
It doesn't justify it. I'm not
Okay,
arguing that it
then
does.
why are you mentioning that?
I thought you were asking me why I would, like we were talking about why I would continue to consume like eating meat and things like that.
Yeah, I want to have you try to come up with a logical justification for it. So, like again, you've agreed that if you were to support a human meat trade, that would be tantamount to murder. You tried to argue that because you're not the one killing it, then you're not really responsible for the murder. But you just admitted you would be in a human context. So
No,
it would
and
be
right, but then I agreed with you on your original point, so I'm agreeing on both factors that it's the same for the animal meat.
right.
Let's not leave it out. I did turn around and I say I see what you're saying,
Okay.
so yes, I agree on that as well.
Okay, so I still haven't really heard you name a trait that wouldn't also take away human rights. Like, unless you're comfortable with, say, holocausting mentally disabled people.
I mean, I'm not comfortable with our rights as is what I was saying.
So I'm talking about this from your own personal perspective. Like, would you want mentally disabled people to have the right to live? Like, you wouldn't want people
Of
to be able to
course.
turn them into
For my
hamburgers?
own personal things, of course.
Right. So I'm not talking about the law the way it is. It's more the law the way you would wish it to be. So if you want human beings to have certain rights and protections under the law, it's coming from your perspective. So, like, again, I haven't heard you name a trait where it would take away animal rights, but would also end up taking away human rights, but you also being comfortable with that, like that kind of exchange.
I think mine, the reason why I'm comfortable with it is in general, like I said, in general, animals don't, unfortunately, lack the ability to form a functioning society, a civilized society. And that's really it. I understand, yeah, we have some mentally impaired or whatever, but that's still a small ration out of generalizing because we get deformed and impaired animals as well. But in general, even the best of the best are not able to form these societies and form these structures and do these things or even build up a defense mechanism that would far that would fare off humans and
Right,
accessing them. Like in
but
order to
that would also take away rights from mentally disabled human beings.
yeah, that's what I said, but that's a small amount of human beings versus
Well,
the
you'd be
generalized.
talking about
So I
tens of
look at it
millions
general.
worldwide.
I still look at it more as generals. I mean, there's over 8 billion people in the world
Well,
that
right, there's 8 billion people in the
operate
world, but
right.
what during the time of World War II, I think there was somewhere between like 3, 4 billion out of the 10 million people who got holocausted. Would you say that's a small tragedy?
Not that it's a small well, okay, I have different beliefs on that whole thing, unfortunately, so I don't want to get into that. That's a whole
Are
different
you a
debate.
revisionist?
What is that?
A Holocaust revisionist?
Like a denier?
Yeah.
No, I don't deny the Holocaust, but I have a different take on that. I don't believe in the numbers on that or the Inquisition. Like I just think numbers got exaggerated in all types of ways on a lot of things, but
How many
that's a
people
whole
did you
different.
think do you think died?
Probably about a million.
Okay, it was far more than a million, and that's provable because the Nazis actually kept a record of how many they killed. So the
But
10
a lot of
million,
people also just died from starvations and
yes,
things like that. What I'm saying. I'm
yes,
talking about like the gas chambers and
they
stuff like
recorded those
I
deaths
don't know.
too.
I don't believe it. That's it.
Yeah, so there were 10
But
million
let's not go
total.
to let's not I'm not gonna get into that on your YouTube
Yeah, so
because
there
I
were
think
10 million total victims in the Holocaust, roughly 6 million Jews. You think that's a small tragedy compared to a population of about 3.5 billion at the time?
well again, I'm not gonna comment on that, especially on your YouTube. That's a different debate. I don't agree with those numbers, is what it is. But would it be a small tragedy? No. Even with the numbers that I
Yeah.
agree with, it's a small tragedy.
So then you're talking about excluding tens of millions of people from the right to life if you're going to say the ability to be able to form a society is the trait that grants somebody a right to life. There would
That
be in
grants
the
not
tens
them
of
the right to
millions of
life.
mentally disabled people.
I don't think that that's what I said. I said not grants the right to life. The granting the right of being elite and making those decisions on like that. Obviously, we have people above us that grant us the rights to have access to certain medical needs and things like that. So these people in a mass society, a civilized society, are deciding that the animals can be slaughtered and this, that, and the third.
So I
Not
asked
that oh,
you
they're
just to,
not making that decision to take the rights
yeah, I
from
think you're
the
misunderstanding. So I asked you to name a trait that's lacking in animals that, if lacking in human beings, would justify killing and eating those human beings.
also
So,
something that lacks in animals that if it lacks in humans should justify killing human beings as well.
yeah,
Okay, so then yeah, the ability for conscious decision making, like structured conscious decision making, morals, what is the one I wanted to say? We touched bases on it once before. Because we're making it for what would be able to kill a human as well, right?
yeah.
Okay, so because I would argue that animals are emotional and can have empathy. Somebody was arguing that it couldn't. And then I kind of think, in a sense, animals can be social because monkeys can sign language. So monkeys can communicate if you
Well,
train them.
apes.
Apes, monkeys, apes. So I would just say their defense, unfortunately, makes them the weakest link. And that's why, as humans, we decide we have that power over them.
Right. So
So then I
again,
guess like
if
in a
it,
post-apocalyptic sense, the weaker link of humans would be getting slaughtered. If we had no animal meat, then would it be okay?
well,
Probably.
I don't understand. You wouldn't be in favor of taking away rights from women, gay people, disabled people. Like those are all people who wouldn't be able to defend themselves if society at large decided to just not grant them their rights and wanted to Holocaust them. Like even ethnic minorities would be at risk of this.
Taking away rights. Did we take like That's that's the words that I'm trying to figure out here is the taking away rights or deciding rights. I don't think it's a right that we've taken or we're granting for animals. I think it's an action that humans just do, whether natural or just
Well, you are taking
programmed.
away a right. Or like another way to word it is you're denying them a right. Like you do believe you should have rights, like codified rights under the law that protect you from certain things, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So if you're not going to grant that to animals, that has to be justified with something. And if you're going to say their inability to actually fight for their rights in order to give them protection under the law, then you would also be in favor of just taking away those rights from, again, like Jews, other ethnic minorities, like black people, they were enslaved, gay people, women, like all these groups were had their rights denied to them. So
And they
I
did at one point have their rights denied to them, which that's what I was agreeing with, is the people higher up are making those decisions for
right.
us.
This is an internal critique of your own worldview. So in your own worldview, what rights would you want to have granted to human beings? What rights wouldn't you want to have to be granted to animals? And how would you justify that? So, like, again, name the trait that's lacking in animals that, if in your own worldview, if we're lacking in human beings, would justify
So
taking away
my
rights from those human
perfect
beings.
world. So in my perfect world, obviously, in my perfect world, I would only consume animal meat after they've died, like unless they died of disease or something like that, but natural death type of thing, like
Well, you're
or
not
they fell.
doing that. You just admitted
No, no,
you'd
no.
go to
We said in my
McDonald's.
perfect world, so we're doing a hypothetical, correct or no?
Well, you eat meat.
Not in the world in which I live in, where I have already programmed, lived this way, grew up this way, and it's
Well,
just
I'm
natural.
asking you to justify your actions in the real world.
Oh, it's not justifiable. It's a natural programmed way of living that I've grew up doing, that I'm not
Okay,
actively
so you concede what you're doing is morally wrong.
killing of any sort is morally wrong, which I agreed with last time as well. Killing of any sort is wrong.
I
Sacrifice,
wouldn't
whether
say
it's
of
religious
any
or not,
sort,
no,
but
it's wrong. It's
um,
wrong because at the end of the day, God created life. So killing of any sort, whether it's
then
animal,
why do you do
human,
it?
even if it's a murderer, it is morally, in a sense, wrong. I do agree with that.
Then why do you do it?
I grew up eating animal meat. I like animal meat
So
and
did
I eat
I.
it.
Well, so did I, and I made
You
the
made the
decision not to be a
decision
piece of shit anymore.
exactly. So you made those decisions to not want to eat the animal meat anymore, whereas I actively would like to continue to eat animal meat.
So you
But
want
I
to
mean, I thought the
be
point of this
a
was you were
piece of
supposed to be
shit.
showing me. Yes, I am a piece
Why?
of shit. You were supposed to be showing me reasons why I should probably not want to eat human meat.
Well,
Like I thought
apparently I don't need to because you agree you're a terrible person if you do it. You just choose to be a terrible person. Like, why?
terrible. I think it's all by perspective.
Well, from your own perspective, you're admitting it's
From
terrible.
my own perspective, I don't see it as murdering the animals, though. That's it. But
You just said it was.
me consuming animal meat, I don't consider myself murdering the animals now.
Well, you literally just admitted it is murder.
No, it's
You
still not
did.
murder.
How is it not
I
murder?
said I can
You
agree with your no, no, no. I agree with your take, as in, like, for example, it would be like co-signing the human factory. It would be co-signing, and I said I agree that it would be the same with co-signing on the animals factories as well. I'm not saying that I'm still actively killing these people or animals
how is that not murder if you're paying for human beings to be murdered so you can eat them?
because I'm not
Same in the
doing
animal
it
context. Sorry?
because I am not actively doing it.
Well, that doesn't matter. You're paying for it.
No, I understand what you're saying. That's why I said I understood your take, but in my mind, my perspective is still that I am not killing it because you were asking about my perspective. While I agree with how you explain it, I
Well,
agree with the examples you've given. In my perspective, I'm still like, I'm not torturing these animals, I'm not killing these animals.
so if you made the decision not to pay for these things, which would result in a lower demand and thus save these human beings or save animals, how could you say you're not actually complicit in the murder?
Just by my perspective, like I'm
Well, Please
I mean,
explain, because
if I
your own
were to,
action would
from my own
either.
perspective, I mean, I come from doing fraud. I didn't actively go steal money from these people, but I understand that money was taken. Like, that's, yeah.
Okay, so if
If
you're
I'm
in
not
a
physically doing it, that's how I justify it for
right,
myself,
so
whether it's
it
or
that
not.
I don't understand how that's a justification. So again, if you're
But it's
buying meat from a human factory, and by choosing not to buy meat from the human factory, humans would be saved, but if you buy the meat from the human factory, humans will be killed. How does that not make you directly
that
complicit in the
animals,
murder?
I do not think that animals would be saved just by me deciding,
Well,
oh,
they
I'm
would
gonna
be.
eat it. No, they wouldn't.
Well,
There
yes,
are
they
over
would be.
7 billion people that are gonna continue to eat animals
No,
regardless.
do you understand the supply and demand principle?
Not everybody is going to turn around and think these things because of programming. They're just gonna be like, no,
Yeah,
animals can't even
well,
talk.
the
And that
supply
is
and
the
demand, whether you believe in it or not, the supply and demand principle is real. So if you choose not to eat animals anymore, you'd save roughly, assuming your meat intake is average, you would save roughly 100 animals per year.
average. No, I mainly eat fish, not regular animals. I do mainly eat fish.
Oh, okay. Still though, from the other animals you do eat, including fish, you would save those animals by not eating them. So it's not as though your input has no effect.
In the masses, I don't think it does.
So, like, again, I'm just wondering.
I get it in like the ideal sense of, oh, if one person stops, that makes it, and then another person stops, and it's like the domino effect. I get that. I get what you're saying. It's just I don't see that actually happening.
Well, okay, but your own personal actions have an effect. It doesn't matter if it won't change the entire world. Your own personal actions have an effect. Like, there are people who go around murdering cats and dogs. Does that make it okay
Mm,
for you to do it?
nope.
Yeah, so if you stopped murdering cats and dogs, that's not going to stop somebody else from doing it, but your own actions matter and have a consequence.
But you're supposed to be showing me why I would want to believe that my action of eating animal meat should be wrong. That's the thing. Instead, you've just been asking me the
You've
same thing.
literally acknowledged that it's wrong. You just refuse to
No,
make
I
a
acknowledge
change.
that mass fucking factory producing, yeah, is wrong. But like I said, if I lived on my own farm, I would still kill my own animals to consume them.
So, would you be fine with killing your own children and eating them for meat?
If I lived in an indigenous tribe where that was the normal, that was something that was programmed,
I'm
like,
talking about
only
you
then
now. I'm not talking about a
well,
hypothetical
no, because
circumstance
I
of you
have
being
it in mind and
brainwashed.
how I'm raised and how my mind is programmed, how I'm socially constructed to believe,
Like,
oh, killing my offspring is wrong. So it is still a lot to do with programming.
do you think something is morally acceptable just because it's accepted by society?
Do I think that, or do I think that that is the case in general?
Do you think that?
Give me an example.
Like you just mentioned, like if you lived in a tribal society where it's normal to kill and eat your kids, you'd likely think it's okay. Like, what do you think that's how morality works? Where if you're just brought up in a certain society, and that
I
was the
do.
general
Yes,
opinion.
I do. My
Okay, so
example
you
in
think Hitler
some
did
places,
nothing wrong because based on his upbringing, based on the society he lived in, killing all the Jews was acceptable.
in his mind, it was okay. In my mind, no. So
Well,
that's what
I
we're getting
think
back
we
on.
can.
How I was raised, how I was
I
brought up was
acknowledge
more
that in different
different.
people's minds, different things are okay. I'm just asking
Yeah.
you, do
So
you
in my
I'm asking you specifically, do you think something is right or wrong on the basis of society generally accepting it as right or wrong?
let's see. So I want an example of like like how it was morally acceptable to marry off 12-year-olds, whereas now that is frowned upon and people just accept. But back then, people would accept marrying off 11
Right.
girls for
I
11.
I'm asking you the specific question though. Do you think something is right or wrong on the basis of society generally accepting it as right or wrong?
Do I think it's okay to wait, say that again?
Do you think something is right or wrong on the basis of society accepting it as right or wrong?
Do I think if it's right or wrong if society accepts it as right or wrong?
Yeah, do you personally believe that?
Like, would I follow the normal construct within society?
No, I'm asking you, do you think something is right or wrong on the basis of most people around you thinking it's right or wrong? So most people eat meat. Do you think it's okay to eat meat because most people do it?
I think that I've been structured that way. Yeah, like I was saying, I grew up that way. It's a normal,
Yeah, but do you
regular
think meat eating
behavior.
is justified because everybody eats meat? Like on that basis alone?
On that basis alone, yes, but would I don't know if we would use the word justified as far as I would say it's just the normal.
Okay,
The norm.
so if that's your moral principle, then the Holocaust was okay because at the time most people thought that was okay. Slavery was okay because most people at the
At
time
the
thought
time, you
slavery was
probably
okay.
would have, depending on what side you were on, thought it was okay.
I acknowledge that everybody is going to have their own opinion, but I don't
Yeah.
base my own moral views on this idea that, well, everybody else thinks this way. Like, again, if I thought that way, then that would justify a Holocaust or slavery.
Yeah, but I think given at that time, dependent upon which side you were on during that case, you would obviously think that certain things were okay. Or you would feel in the sense, I guess for that, because that was like, I mean, that started a war and everything. A lot of people didn't really have say and, in a sense, felt helpless versus buying a cheeseburger. I don't think that's really comparable.
Well, it is because you haven't been able to name a trait that is unique to animals that wouldn't take away human rights. So clearly it is. I mean, again, you wouldn't be comfortable with killing a cat. You wouldn't be comfortable with killing a dog, and I
I
think you'd
said
have
those
a
would be my personal preferences, which I said we pick and choose what is
yeah, we
okay,
do.
whether or not that's
Well,
right.
I don't know if we pick and choose so
So
much. I
I
think a
think
lot of
the
our
word that we
preferences are
should be
kind of
using is justifications here versus what's normal and what people just actively choose to do with their actions and their way of living. I don't think there's justifications for a lot of things, whether it is our own human rights as humans, like you said, the gays, or even being black or being colored or being a woman. There are things that I don't think could be justified, whether it's for animals or humans at all. And then on top of that, yeah, I would say it's just like going about things on the normal way. Do you want to change your way of living based upon maybe getting, which I thought this was what this was supposed to be. You were supposed to be showing me things about veganism as to how it's healthier for you, how it's better for you, this, that, and the third, to pique my interest. That's what I thought this was.
well,
Uh,
veganism
I've
is the
only
idea of
researched
granting.
veganism or anything like that, so.
Sorry?
Because I've only consumed vegan food. I've never done any actual research on the health benefits, mental benefits, spiritual benefits, or anything like that. So I was hoping that that's what you were going to be doing.
Well, look, the idea of veganism is to grant human rights to animals. It's not about how it benefits you personally. So, this is an important issue where we keep going in this loop where I ask you to name the trait, you name a trait, and then you're uncomfortable with that trait because it takes away human rights. Like, I think at this point you just
I'm not uncomfortable with that. I think I already said if it was normal, like if we were doing the human factories, I said, and how we are structured right now, we obviously think it's, oh, it's bad to murder humans, da da da. That's how we're raised. That's what we were told, boom, boom, boom. Had society been in a different way where we weren't raised like that and we were raised as consuming cannibals and that was the normal, I probably would be in the mindset to where I would be consuming human meat like it was
okay.
nothing. So
Okay,
I do.
well, if that's your justification for eating meat, then you would have to admit there was nothing wrong with the Holocaust. There was nothing wrong with slavery. There was nothing wrong with denying women the right to vote. There was nothing wrong with the Native American genocide. So you can't just say, well, society says it's okay, so it must be okay.
So if I was raised that way, for example, if I was raised if I was white and I was raised as a slave owner or in a family slave owners, I would probably not see anything wrong with it due to
You're just
my
explaining why you wouldn't see anything wrong with it, not why it wasn't wrong.
okay, because you're asking about my personal beliefs.
Right. And we've already proven that your own personal beliefs are self contradictory. So
Well, I'm
either,
black. As of right now, I mean, I am black, so of course I'm not going to say slavery wasn't wrong when I know, I mean, I'm black. So if I was white, in my mind, it probably wouldn't have been wrong, is what I'm saying.
yeah, and what I'm saying is your beliefs are self contradictory. When I ask you to name a trait that's lacking in animals, that if lacking in human beings would justify taking away rights from human beings, you're always, so far, have been uncomfortable with the answer. So you've
That's
mentioned the
probably
ability to
possible
create a
with answer because I'm
society.
just agreeing, but I'm structuring it out, like you said, with the Holocaust and things like that. If back then, depending upon which side I was on, I would probably have been okay with certain things. If I
You're,
was in a gas
you're,
chamber, would I have been okay with it? Fuck no. If I was a Nazi, I probably would have been like, this is what we need to do. This is okay.
again, you're explaining why you might have done something wrong, not why that wrong thing was acceptable.
Why it was acceptable?
Yeah.
Because the people in charge or the stronger of the fucking pyramid chose that.
So you just believe in might makes right? If you're stronger and you could take advantage of somebody, you should be able to just do that? So,
So
like, if
why Hitler
Sneeko in your
was killing
relationship
people?
wanted to abuse
So
you,
why
treat you like
Hitler was
shit,
killing
hit you,
people?
he should have been able to do that?
No. But I would have the ability to fight back and seek help because I'm in a civilized society. So going back on that, a situation like that, for example, no one ever said the Holocaust was right. That's
Well,
why there
if
was a
we
war.
were 100 years ago where nobody really cared what women said and they didn't really have much recourse when it came to abuse, that wouldn't be the case. If Sneeko wanted to rape you, you'd go to the police and they would ask, "Why are you having
Okay,
sex
so if we
outside of
were 100
marriage?"
years back and that was the case, nobody would care and it wouldn't be a problem. Taking
Well,
that
it
example,
would
if
be
we
a
were 100 years
problem.
back, mind you, let's not talk about that nigga because that's not my nigga. I have a nigga, so use that as example. I don't like to speak on other people no more. I'm tired of hearing that. Because they're just gonna, oh, she keeps talking about him. You brought him up. I didn't. Just to be very clear for people, I did not bring that person up. So take it 100 years back. If I'm with a partner and I didn't have rights as a woman and they were beating on me, and it was society, like it was socially accepted and shit like that, like it was back then, and that's unfortunate. I probably would have thought it was normal, even though I was getting beat the fuck up.
That doesn't make it okay.
I'm not saying it makes it okay.
Then why are you mentioning this?
But
Like, this is in relation to
back
you
then,
trying to justify
if
eating
you're not
meat.
getting, if you're putting yourself in that position and in that mindset, back then you don't know whether it's okay or not
Well,
because you're
now
taught
you
to do
do.
it. Versus now, obviously here and now, I don't think it's that's okay because I was raised to believe different things. Just like I was raised, I consume meat. Spiritually, we consume meat and we have spiritual reasoning behind it as well. So I have my reason into thinking when I'm consuming this portion of God, da 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 da, whatever, whatever mumbo jumbo religious shit you want to get into. So with that upbringing, that's what makes me understand certain things I can consume. It is okay for me to consume. Versus if I'm raised in a different way where I would be like, oh, if I was raised like, okay, not religious at all or anything like that, I would probably be more susceptible and open to understanding like, okay, animals should have the same rights as humans. It's wrong. They live and breathe. There's no traits that separates them except they can't maybe talk in most cases or build a functioning society. But that's not how I was raised. That's not the religion or spirituality I was raised
Are
into
you
where in my
Christian?
mind I believe it is okay.
Are you
No,
Christian? What are
no,
you?
I'm not. I'm a witch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And
again, like your ideal sort of farming situation where animals are treated well before they're killed, uh, you wouldn't be in favor of humans being treated like that.
you said what?
In this ideal farming scenario, you still wouldn't want humans to be treated like that, where they're treated well before they're killed for meat.
In my ideal farming scenario,
Yeah,
you said?
yeah.
All right, so okay, in my ideal farming thing, I mean, you don't have to consume that much meat anyway, but like I said, in my ideal is raising your animals, and when your animals die and you eat them, not just go out there and just slaughter them because Christmas is coming and you need a Christmas ham. So it's a little bit different, right? And you consume their leftover meats. It's like the return, like the cycle of life. Like those are just my spirit, like that's the spiritual beliefs, whether you want to be taken in a Native American sense or whatever. Going and slaughtering, no. Now if
So you think it's
we
wrong to
were
kill an
already
animal?
eating, so if we were already eating humans,
Wait,
going
I just want to
farming,
clarify.
wait, I want to put the humans in the same example real quick. So then if the humans were dying and we were consuming their meat, then that would be okay too.
Okay, so you think it's wrong to kill animals?
I personally could not take life. I don't think it's wrong to kill humans or animals. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think I have the decision to decide what is right and wrong because I am not God. But for me, I would not take life
Okay, but
because
you'd be
I'm not.
fine with paying somebody to kill a human.
Would I hire a hitman? Absolutely. So I mean, I don't think that's a fair question. I definitely would hire somebody to, if I could, if I wouldn't get in trouble for it, allegedly.
Okay, so if you like, and I'm just talking about an innocent person. So if you knew there was an innocent person who, I don't know, said had a few $1,000s on them, you'd hire a hitman, assuming you would get away with it.
$1,000. A rapist, maybe? If I knew somebody that knew
Well,
somebody and some.
that's more of a justice thing. Like, you would benefit from, let's just say you would benefit in some way from getting an innocent person killed. Would you do it?
So what am I benefiting?
Let's say you're making more money than you're paying the hitman, and you could get
Okay,
away
this
with
is
it.
hypotheticals because I'm on probation. So,
Yeah, it's a hypothetical.
oh Lord.
I think that's an easy answer, and I think you're just
How
morally
finding a good
bankrupt if you're
example.
having trouble answering that.
No, because I like you said a couple thousand, and I think that's crazy. But now if somebody was like gonna kill somebody for like an island or something that my family could go live on, because I need to benefit, right? I have to benefit in a good reason, something that does something for me
Okay,
that's
so
good.
supposing there's an innocent person who's nice, never hurt anybody, but they're a billionaire, owns an island, and if you killed them, you'd get that. You'd do that?
Shit. Now you said billionaire.
Okay, I think you're just morally bankrupt.
By your perspective of morals, then yes.
Well, I think by your perspective of morals,
I
you're
mind would I
laughing,
pay
having
them, but if
trouble
somebody
answering this.
I'm laughing at the example because I'm just like this is great, like this is freaking ridiculously crazy. But like if I found out somebody was hitting a lick, whatever you want to call it, on some old ass man on an island and getting all his money or whatever, and I knew the person would and they offered me some of the money, would I take some of the money? I don't think I would say no to taking a couple $100,000. I don't think I would say
Okay.
no. If they're like,
I
I killed somebody for this money, I probably would be like, fuck, give me the money and take care of my family. Oh, yeah, I think I would.
Okay, I think you're morally bankrupt. And I you've still yet to name a trait where where you think animals are lacking in a particular trait that would also take away human rights. Like again, like after this talk, you're probably going to go eat meat somewhere. You might go to
I mean,
McDonald's. You
I'm
might.
the only reason I can order my food now is actually I do want to be respectful to the fact that like I'm talking to you. You're supposed to be introduced to that, and like I don't know, like I didn't want to eat meat while yeah
So
while talking.
if you're
It's like
doing
under your
this,
beliefs, and it's something that would be like upsetting to you.
like if you're going to go out and eat meat, how do you justify taking away the rights from those animals? Like what is the trait they're lacking?
I honestly, like I said, I guess the fact that they can't build a society to take our rights from us.
So right, okay, and then the reductio to that would be
But
mentally
the people
disabled
with
people,
mental
and
disabilities,
you're okay with holocausting tens of millions of mentally disabled people just so you can eat a burger?
If society turned around and started holocausting mentally
Well, this
disabled
isn't
people,
about society. This is about your own internal beliefs. So you would, by your own reasoning, have to justify holocausting tens of millions of mentally disabled people to justify eating hamburgers.
but I'm not eating the human meat, so
Well,
I think
you're
that would just
not,
be
but again, in order to be logically
where that's
consistent, you'd
okay.
have to be okay with that.
To be logically consistent, then I guess I won't be logically consistent because I wouldn't be okay with that.
Okay, well, then that's a contradiction.
I understand that, but
Well,
it
if
is
you're
what it
going to say it's acceptable to have a contradictory belief, then if you're going to throw logic out the window and say that doesn't matter, then you can believe anything.
I'm not saying logic doesn't matter, but I'm saying like
Well, clearly it
if you want
doesn't
to
to
call
you.
it contradiction, then what the
Like,
fuck?
if you're just going to throw your hands up in the air and say, "Well, I guess I'm going to be inconsistent," then clearly logic doesn't matter to you.
More exposure to get the higher. Okay. Um, sorry, it's my one of my jobs. Okay, I'll let them know.
All right. Well, how about we
I think repeat what you were saying.
So if you're going to throw your hands up in the air and say, "Well, I guess I'm logically inconsistent," and you're not going to change your moral view on upon recognizing that your view is logically consistent, then that just seems to me that you don't have any interest in logic at
I think
all.
honestly, if I grew in a religion or spiritual faith that God was saying, for example, had God been like, if it was God saying not to eat animal meat, I wouldn't be consuming animal meat at all. That's one thing. I wouldn't.
What is a god to
Where I
you?
am religious, huh?
What is God to you? Is it a
God.
benevolent being?
God is the final. God is everything to me. I don't really want to get all into that and offend people that whether they're Christian or Catholic or Muslim or
Well, I'm
whatever.
just asking about your own
So,
belief. Like, do you take God to be an all-powerful benevolent being?
all powerful, good and evil. Yes, there's no
Good
separation.
and
Which
evil?
God is good and evil in my beliefs. Absolutely. That's why I said I didn't really want to get into it.
Okay, so do you think the evil part of God would accept killing animals?
I mean, God does accept killing animals.
Right,
My
but
God.
that would be the evil side of him, correct?
Well, no, because if you want to
How
get
would
it
it be a good thing to kill an
link on
innocent
another day,
creature?
we can, and I'll break down like my spiritual beliefs and religion and God and all of that. But no, it's not written that way. It's not structured that way at all. In fact, it's supposed to be extremely beneficial and holy. So it
Killing
wouldn't
innocent
make sense
creatures.
to evil. Yeah.
Okay, well, you just admitted that your own
Them,
moral
except
beliefs are
when you hunt them, you're supposed to
self-contradictory.
use, for example, when you hunt them, you're supposed to use every ounce of their of their body, their bones for something, their skin for something, whether it's clothes, their fur to cover
Okay,
yourself, and eat
well,
all of them. You're supposed to
you
consume.
just admitted your beliefs are self-contradictory to where you claimed it is both right and wrong to kill beings that lack the ability to form a society. So
What did you say?
you said you admitted to a contradiction where you claimed it is both right and wrong to kill beings that lack the ability to form a
Well, I said
society.
yes. If by your perspective, you're going to call that a contradiction, and then I said,
Well,
I
it's not
guess it's a
just from my perspective. If you're saying it is both correct and incorrect, then that is a contradiction. So, like, is your God like self-contradictory?
Is God self-contradictory? God is what God is. God says we can eat meat, so I eat meat.
Yeah, but you admitted that your belief is self-contradictory.
How is that self-contradictory?
You claimed it's okay to eat beings that lack the ability to form a society, and then when I gave you the human example of mentally disabled people, you said it was wrong. So that's
Yeah, I
self-contradictory.
wouldn't eat them. If people were doing it, I wouldn't eat them because I would be like, yeah, no, I don't want to eat my own kind. So I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't consume of my own kind.
Well, again, this is from your own moral view, so is it not self-contradictory to claim it is both right and wrong?
I think it's balanced.
Well, no, that's a contradiction. That's not balance.
No, I think
How
it's
can something
balanced.
be true and untrue at the same
Wrong
time?
because I don't think it's wrong. I think we structure what is right
It's
is wrong
not
by
wrong to holocaust and kill people.
we structure what is right and wrong by our perspective. So we decide, for example, by that. that it would be wrong. We would be deciding that by having this by
Well,
having
again,
empathetic attitude
your
towards food.
your basis for being it being acceptable to kill is you can only kill beings that are unable to form a society. And then when I gave the human example, you said that would be wrong. So you're claiming it is both right and wrong. That's a contradiction.
Because I was never told to eat human meat. That's why.
Okay, but I'm not asking if you were ever told to. You told
Oh, well,
me
you're
that you
saying
think
it's
it's
a contradiction,
wrong.
but I was never told to eat human meat, so that's why I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong to eat
So you
dirt. I
just
wasn't
believe
told
in
to eat
whatever you're
dirt.
told to?
No, by faith is what I'm saying. Like, it just doesn't make sense to eat dirt for me. It doesn't make sense to eat humans for me. If there was a society that, or like I said, okay, with the indigenous tribes, am I against the indigenous tribes being cannibals? No, I don't think that they know whether right and wrong in their
Okay,
society.
you
They're killing
realize
humans and eating humans, and if
okay,
that's what they
you
raise their people
realize
to eat, then
there's
that's okay.
you realize there's a tribe in Papua New Guinea where they force children to perform oral sex on adult males, and they believe that that's the way you go through puberty and become a man. Do you think it's acceptable that they're committing rape on children?
I think in my society where I'm growing up here and how I'm structured by the beliefs and systems I've formed, that it is wrong. If I were in their tribe, it would not be wrong for me and would be extremely
Okay, well,
normal.
I'm
There
asking
is
about your own
right.
beliefs.
Well, obviously, like I just said, I'm structured here. Like my structuring, how I was raised, I'm going to look at that as wrong. Touching children is wrong.
Okay,
In
and
my if
you
if
you
I'm in that
just
tribe and raised in that
okay.
tribe, I'm not going to see that as
Right.
wrong.
So then, from your own perspective, it is both right and wrong to kill beings that do not have the mental capacity to build a society. You don't see that as a contradiction.
No, because even what we just discussed isn't necessarily a contradiction when it's
That is a
weighing off
contradiction. How can something
perspectives.
be true and untrue at the same time? That's a
Because
contradiction.
we're weighing off different perspectives, so we are
It's
deciding
your
as to
perspective. No, no, no.
for
It's
example,
only
what
from your
humans aren't
perspective.
able to
From
do.
your
When
perspective, how
what
is it?
animals aren't able to do is weigh what's right and wrong, whereas humans decide what's right and wrong by their structure, by what they're structured
So
to
this
believe in.
is only from your
Animals
personal
can't even do
perspective.
that.
How can something be true and untrue without it being a contradiction?
Because in my own personal perspective, things can exist and not exist all at the same time. Time is happening, you're alive and you're dead all at the
Okay.
same time.
I think we've exhausted this conversation. You're just not admitting that it's a contradiction.
No, you're saying it's a contradiction, but I don't think that you can go outside of perspective with that. Like
You,
I'm trying to
I'm not
understand like
asking you to go outside of your own perspective. I'm
okay,
asking you to
but
make.
to be fair, you're still holding from your beliefs as of right now that it would be wrong in the indigenous tribes what they're doing, right? It's wrong for
You
you.
are the one who stated it is both right and wrong to kill beings that lack the ability to form a society. That's from your own perspective. That is
Because I was
self
structured in
contradictory.
that society to for it to be right, and that was the norm, that was the mass belief of it being right.
You keep
I
flip
wouldn't
flopping
have it
between these two
open
things. You keep
because I
saying,
wouldn't have an
front,
entrance out of
wait,
it.
wait,
I'm
wait,
stepping
wait, wait,
out of
wait,
who I
wait,
am
wait.
now
You
and putting
keep
myself in
flip
a different
flopping
mindset.
every time I pinpoint a contradiction. I point out a contradiction in your
That's
own
not
moral
flip
beliefs. Then you
flopping. That's
say,
taking
"Oh, but
myself out of
society
myself
thinks
and putting
this."
myself now.
This isn't about society. This is about your own beliefs. Your own beliefs are self-contradictory. You have to admit that.
My own beliefs aren't. If I'm taking myself out of my current state, who I am now, and how I've
We're
grown
not
up, and
taking
what
you out of your current state. We're talking about what you believe right now.
we just spoke about, like indigenous tribes. Would I believe where I am right now that that's okay? Obviously not. If I'm that person in the
We're
indigenous
not
tribe,
talking
I
about you
would
being
believe
a
it's
tribes
okay.
person or someone else. We're talking about you being
So you're
you right
asking about
now.
my perspective of who I am now, then no. No, I don't think it's wrong to eat animal meat.
Then you just made a contradiction. The trait you stated was the inability to form a society. I gave the human example of humans being unable to build a
But no,
society,
I just said
and
if
you
we're
said it
not
would be
taking
wrong.
pause. You just said you don't want me to put myself in the shoes of having a different conscious mind by being raised a different way, right? So who I am here right now is the Holocaust wrong? No.
Okay, well, there you go.
No. War
Uh,
isn't wrong. No. It is a natural it is a thing that we do throughout humanity and no. No, I think
so
everything
you
happens for
think mass murder and holocausts are just fine, so that you can eat hamburgers?
I think that mass murder and the Holocaust didn't happen for us to have the right to eat animals. But I
Okay,
think that during the time of war, is war right? Is war wrong? I don't think I have the ability to say what is right and wrong. Will it happen? Can it be accepted?
so
Yes.
you don't have the ability to say what Hitler did was right or wrong? You don't have the ability to say child rape is right or wrong?
Child rape has nothing to do with eating animal meat.
No, but you just made this general statement. You have no ability to determine what's right or wrong.
Yeah, I don't have the right to decide what is right and wrong, as in taking our rights as humans. I don't
You
have that.
absolutely have a right to have an opinion.
And I gave you my opinion that if, okay, for example, war, am I pro war? Am I against war? I'm not against war. I'm not against eating animal meat.
Oh, okay. Are you
By
against the
religious belief,
Holocaust?
by religious beliefs, the Holocaust has nothing to do with my religious beliefs, whereas eating meat has something to do with my religion.
Okay, are you against the Holocaust or not?
Of course, I'm against the Holocaust.
Okay, so
But
if
eating
if
animal
you're
meat
against
has
the
nothing to do
Holocaust,
with my
then
religion.
how can you justify eating meat when the trait you named was ability to form a society, and you said you'd be against holocausting mentally disabled people for hamburgers?
Because I said my religion. You wanted a reason, and I'm telling
you
you,
you you,
spiritual
you
belief
named the
why I think
trait.
I can eat
Yeah,
animal meat.
so based on your religion, I'm
You
assuming this is
asked the
based
same
on your
traits, I gave
religion, the
examples,
trait,
and I still weighed it, and I said it's still iffy because I said, for
that would
example,
be a contradiction then. You have to come up
people
with a
would
different
argue that
trait.
animals can't talk, and then I even told you I was like, technically animals can talk, so there's iffy things that we pick and choose, which I agreed with you and said we pick and choose. So
Okay,
no.
if you're going to say the trait is ability to form a society, and then I give you an example of humans unable to form a society, and you say it's not okay to kill those humans, that is a contradiction. So you have to admit you're either wrong on your moral
I'm
beliefs,
not
and you
saying
have
it's
to bite
wrong
the
to kill
bullet.
humans.
Look,
I'm
look.
saying
There's
I
only two options here. Look, there's only two options here.
right. And I'm saying
You
I wouldn't accept it. That's it. If people were holocausting humans for
then you
human meat,
cannot
would
justify
I
eating
consume human
animals.
meat?
Look,
Except by religion,
you
like I
either
said.
have to take away rights from human beings and bite the bullet and say it's okay to holocaust mentally disabled people, or you have to admit it's wrong to eat animals. Those are your only two options.
How when I'm telling you my religion?
I asked you to name the
You
trait.
asked what no, you also asked me what would morally make it okay for me personally, why I
I'm
continue to
assuming
consume
your religion would
animal meat.
inform you on what traits make it acceptable to not or to kill or not to kill a being.
Yeah, and that separates it. It's religion also separates it. Like those moral
Mentally
beliefs
disabled people don't have
separate.
religious beliefs.
Okay, mentally people exist in my religion, so
Well, mentally
there are still
disabled people don't
in
have
some
religious
senses,
beliefs.
some spirituality will say that mentally people who are mentally impaired are on a different frequency operating with things or have jinn in them and shit like that. We get into the mumbo
Okay,
jumbo. But they're
okay.
still spoken. So there's still a separation from humans to animals in my beliefs. I'm saying religion, spirituality, whatever you want to call it.
I'm sorry. You think mentally disabled people who have like an inability to even talk have
I
religious
think that they're
beliefs?
consciously in another plane. I think that those people are consciously in another plane.
Okay, and
That's
supposing they weren't, you'd be okay with holocausting them?
supposing that they weren't.
Yeah.
My beliefs are that they are.
Okay, and supposing if they weren't, you'd be if I could prove somehow that they aren't, you'd be
You
okay
can't
with
prove it
holocausting
outside of
them.
my religion,
Oh,
but you
okay,
can't prove
wait. So you're saying you cannot prove your religious beliefs? You can't falsify them?
you can't prove me outside of my religion. Like you can't take me like you can't for example, you can't prove to me God doesn't exist. Just like I probably can't prove to you God exists.
Wait, so
You can't tell me God exists. You can't prove the same thing to me.
you're saying you're justifying
What
murder on the
murder am I?
basis of something you cannot prove or disprove.
That I can't justify murder on something I can't prove or disprove?
You're telling me you're justifying murder on something you can neither prove or disprove.
No, what I'm saying is you were saying let's for example say these people weren't operating in a different realm or whatever because I was
Yeah.
talking about my spiritual beliefs that they're still humans and there is a separation within my beliefs of spiritual beliefs whatever souls and all that that humans are separate from animals just off that alone
Okay,
because you asked about where my moral structure comes from as to why I would still
wait,
consciously
what
decide
is the spiritual difference between humans and animals?
spirit.
Okay, and suppose and animals don't have a spirit.
I don't believe animals have spirits. I believe they have conscious and they're different beings. I don't believe
Okay,
they have spirits,
and
no.
if I could find humans that didn't have a spirit, you'd be fine with holocausting them?
If they were soulless, that's a silly question. Absolutely. If they were soulless, then yeah, they're
Okay,
not humans.
well,
They're
hate to
fucking.
break it to you, souls don't exist. That's a bullshit, stupid fucking belief. Do you
That's
do you
your
wanna do you wanna
belief.
prove to
That's
me that souls
what
exist? Do you want to prove to me
I
that
said
souls exist?
you can't prove to me
No one
that
has
souls
a
don't, and
soul.
I can't
Souls
prove to
don't
you that they
exist.
can.
So you're fine with
Okay.
holocausting the entire planet.
That's your belief system, is that
No,
souls
that's not
don't
my
exist.
belief. That's
Now
actually a fact. They
you're
don't
arguing
exist. If they
spirituality over
exist, then show
religion.
me the evidence.
But can you show me that they don't?
That's that. Do you understand the burden of proof?
Can you show me that they don't?
Do you understand the burden of
Can
proof?
you show me that they don't? You
Do
can't
you
prove to me
understand
that
what
I
the
don't
burden of proof
affect
is?
outside of my
Can
body,
you
though.
prove to me there isn't an invisible dragon that only I can see or hear behind me? Can you prove
I
to me
believe there
there isn't an
probably is. I
invisible
believe in
dragon
it.
behind me?
But I believe in that shit though.
You believe there's an invisible dragon behind me?
I believe that there are different beings than which our minds
Okay,
can't
do you
pick up in.
believe there's an invisible dragon behind me?
Is there?
Do you believe that? Can
Do
you
you
prove
honestly
there
believe
isn't?
that? Do you honestly believe that there is a
Do you?
invisible dragon behind
Well, I'm saying there
you?
is. So,
But do you
do you
absolutely
think?
believe
Oh
that?
yeah, I believe it. Do you think there's an
Then so
invisible
be it.
dragon behind me?
Then so be it. Then so be it. Who am I to disprove your spiritual beliefs?
Okay,
That's one thing I wouldn't. I don't-
so according to your worldview, it's okay
It's
to
like I'm
kill
not going to
whoever
tell
you
somebody
want based on your
that
religious beliefs,
Allah isn't their
basically.
God. I'm not going to argue with someone just because I don't
Right,
believe in Allah.
right.
I'm going to
So
argue with someone. Okay.
I believe in this guy named Jeb Bush, and he's this like spiritual warrior from another dimension, and he tells me it's okay to kill stupid people. So I guess that justifies killing stupid people.
Well, listen, there's
I
religions where people think
yeah
it's okay to kill
I
Allah. I
well,
think it's okay.
thanks
That's not my
for
spiritual belief, but it
anyway,
is
I
for them.
think we've
I don't think you can
discussed this
argue.
for long enough, and I think we've gotten to a point where we.
You're an atheist, correct?
Sorry?
Are you an atheist?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So that's where that got in. Yeah, I don't do the whole telling people their religions or spiritualities or anything like that's wrong. I don't. I
Yeah,
think we all have
I
different
do that
beliefs. We all
because
have
their
different moral
religious beliefs are
positions.
bullshit.
Like,
I call out bullshit. Your religious beliefs are bullshit, and they justify Holocaust. So,
well, then I guess that is the answer there because yeah, I definitely am very much. I definitely believe in the existence of God. I definitely believe in the Word of God.
yeah, he
So
doesn't exist.
if you
You're
don't
just
believe, yeah, and
delusional.
if you don't believe in that, then yeah, that's
Right,
your right to or disbelieve, whatever it's called, because it's not a belief system.
right, right. Was your God okay with you committing fraud and going to jail?
Well, I was punished for it by going to prison.
Well, you could have gotten away with
I
it.
did wrong. I could have, but I did wrong by doing wrong to other people because it's do as you will but harm none, meaning harm no other people. I did harm other people
Well,
and
you're
therefore I
harming plenty of other people, including animals, by eating meat.
except that in my religion eating meat is not considered
Yeah, so
wrong.
it's self-contradictory. Yeah, harm no one, but it's okay to harm animals.
Animals aren't in the same category
Well,
as
clearly they
humans.
are. Well, clearly they are, because you admitted to a contradiction.
I don't think animals are in the same category as humans, like we
Well,
said, but humans
clearly they
even
are,
soul.
because you admitted to a
So the argument's
contradiction.
not going to work. Like that argument's not going to work. I mean, you don't believe in spirituality, you don't believe in things like that. Whereas those
Yeah,
would be
I
my
don't
more
believe in stupid shit that has no evidence in support of it. You're correct.
well.
But take care. Thanks for coming on. Things got heated, but I'd be
You got
fine
hated.
with.
There's different belief systems when it comes
Yeah.
to like religion and things like that, and I completely agree. Like I never argue with that when it comes to how somebody chooses to believe and live their life. It's like I'm not one that's gonna be like you're wrong for doing that and you're wrong for doing that and you need to do it that way. I'm very much again like I'm never like that. So I don't think it's like heated. You're not wrong for not wanting to believe in God or disbelieving or whatever it's called or being atheist. That doesn't make me think, oh, you're a shitty person. Do I typically understand atheism? No. Do I want to?
Well, just to be
I'm very
clear, I think you're a shitty person for killing and eating animals.
eating animals. Yeah, I know that. You think people that eat meat is shitty. I know.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you spending the time to be here. But take
No,
care.
it was fun.
Yeah, for sure. Take care.
All right, bye.
Oh boy, that was somewhat annoying. Somebody donated.
Dude, seriously, you are over 30 minutes late. The latest are you have Everine. What is up with that?
She was supposed to be here at 3, and she was late, and she slept in and forgot about it, so I was waiting for her for the debate. Thanks for the donation, though, Matthew, but yeah, that's it for the debate.
Religion is such bullshit.
It is, as I was able to demonstrate, but thanks for the donation, Matthew. Anyway, that's it for the debate. Hope you guys had fun. This debate will stay up, so for those of you who kind of missed it, you'll be able to watch it later. And I will be streaming later night, so see you then. Take care.